hands are so sore from lifting up this tape and flipping it over.
Yeah. The thing I don't understand is, it might not have been this, but I'm pretty sure I had a He-Man and She-Ra storybook with this too, and in the middle of it, it played that song from the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it just played it, the whole song to listen to, like the I can't remember what it was, like the power of love or something is what it's called. I think.
Looks like Bumblebee's not in this one.
All right, hey, don't read that and get spoilers on these things. All right, so here, you want to put this record in the CD player? You know, have you ever owned a record player?
A record player? No.
Yeah, I used to have one, but I got rid of it and all the records I had because my dad gave me his, and I think one of my other aunts or uncles gave me one of theirs. So I had two at one point when I was growing up in high school, and we listened to basically Michael Jackson. And the other Michael Jackson record I had, and like Asia. I had a few others, like I had that Wang Chung record.
Oh, I was thinking about Wang Chung the other day. Everybody Wang Chung.
Why would you be thinking of it randomly, like the next day?
Well, it wasn't really randomly. I listened to like a lot of 80s stuff, so he's in the rotation.
Okay. I remember there were a few others. I think the only ones... No, I didn't end up keeping any of them. I just gave them... The ones I liked to my sister, I think she took maybe like 10 of them, and the rest we just donated to Goodwill. Because my grandparents had a lot of records too, and they were like the Tumbling Tumbleweeds and Guy Lombardo, and these are all records from the 1920s and 30s songs. So you're just like, nobody even knows who they are. So you're just like, well, and nobody wants them. Alright, so let's get ready to begin. When continents collide. Maybe not content with destroying... Let's get rid of this for now. Let's get rid of... maybe not content with just ruining the Rockies. Maybe this time the continents will actually move and bump into each other and cause earthquakes. Like
well, there's only
says.
Liquid in between the east and the west coast, so it is a new continent now.
When continents collide, see the pictures, hear the story, read the book. Because you can actually read this book without the cassette tape. But
that's not fun.
That's not fun, yeah, because I did that all the time as a kid, read along with, because they're read-along books. So, anyway, let's begin the next one. Alright, here we go. Oh my god, was that an AT-AT? I think we're listening to side one because... I might have... These books were made for separate tapes, but I have the tape that had both in one, so they don't match, because these are both record books.
Now it's time for our second action-packed Transformers story.
It was right.
Are you ready for adventure? Here we go with When Continents Collide. At first...
We missed the beginning part, where it says, "Hi everybody, this is your Transformers read-along book. Every time you hear this sound, it means it's time to turn the page. Now, if you are ready, we will start the story... When continents collide. Don't forget to turn the page every time you hear this sound." Something they removed when they transferred, the record to cassettes for some reason. Anyway, back to your favorite Decepticons, Soundwave the whiner and complainer, and Megatron the action figure gun.
Sound was barely perceptible, and the herd of caribou paid no attention. They were grazing on the small plants growing near the isolated pump relay station on the Alaska pipeline. But the sound grew, and with it, what was only a speck on the horizon became a colossus that dominated the vast northern sky. It was a hovercraft oil transporter that was bigger than 200
They only collect oil instead of energon.
High on the command bridge of the transporter stood Megatron, the evil Decepticon leader, observing the docking with his cold, stony stare, and realizing full well how valuable this oil transporter, stolen from the Earthlings, would be to him.
How did you fit inside of it?
Demoralize the ship, then shut down power!
Megatron growled to Soundwave, his communications aide. Huge pilings emerged from the belly of the hovercraft and drove their metal footpads through the surface ooze down to the frozen soil below.
Stabilized now and shutting down power.
Soundwave said.
Can the idle chatter?
Megatron snarled.
I've got the attitude
That's idle
sensor.
chatter.
The big fans revolved to a stop.
Well, where's the contact? Where's that pathetic carbon-based slime who helped us steal the transporter and who has now agreed to aid us in siphoning off tons of this Pluto-Bay crude? I don't know why I'm bothering. I can't wait. Soundwave, activate the laser order for a direct tap into
New stuff in these
lives.
books.
Master, I think your original reasoning is still the most valid plan of action.
My original reasoning?
Yes, mighty Megatron. By bribing this Earthling, we will have an ally, one who will allow us to return here repeatedly and drain load after load of oil without anyone else being wiser.
Just
You
one
know,
inside man
sometimes my
Yeah,
cunning
that lets
enemies
this
leave
secretly
me.
lets in this
Not
giant
continue
show.
operations as planned.
Yes, Master.
Soundwave had to convince him to go with
Giant
plan A
winches
of his
down the
plan
tower.
instead of plan B
A
of his own
gangway
plan.
clanged open, and a ramp extended down to the ground. A huge loading hose snaked
Jeep,
out of
that
its
looks like
port
an
and was
Autobot.
grabbed by two Decepticons who coupled the end of it to a station outlet valve. The Earthling who stepped out of the relay station to check on the operation glanced briefly at the transporter, then turned and went back inside.
That fool is valuable to us only so long as he is useful.
Said Megatron after the man had disappeared.
Yes, Master.
Useful. He just
And
opens
when
the
he
gate
is
for
no
them.
longer,
Like,
I understand, Master.
what worthless trinket was it that induced this betrayal of his
Here we go.
The desire for a new Jeep, mighty Megatron.
wow.
As that very Jeep was being
Wow.
unloaded
That
from the
Jeep is
transporter,
an Autobot, you
the
dumbass.
Decepticons were totally
I mean-
unaware that they were being infiltrated by an undercover Autobot spy. It was Hound in his earthly mode as a Jeep.
Oh my god, this is falling apart
Yeah, oh,
already.
wait, hold on. So, I'm imagining the plan of this is the guy's like, oh man, I gotta warn the Autobots. Like, no, pretend to be their inside man, ask for a Jeep, we'll make sure to have Hound, be at a Jeep dealership where Megatron will come, he will steal or / buy you with his other, car salesman inside man.
Yep.
And then, because it's a cartoon world, he will coincidentally, go to the exact location that you've been plotting out this whole time and hope that he will come in and kidnap you.
Yep.
So, yeah, because desire for a Jeep. Yeah, it's from the transporter, so it clearly indicates the Decepticons took this specific Jeep and didn't realize it was an Autobot.
Yep.
I hope he painted his Autobot symbol off the.
On the side.
Or did they not know? The only thing I can think of is if he said, "Oh, hey, go to this location where my friend has a Jeep, steal it from him." And I like how he's like, and when he's no longer useful, kill him. But no, we can't say that. It's a kid's book. Look at these little white guys down here too. They're look like little mini sound waves. All right, do the honors and continue the tape. Just don't hit that record button.
The flow rate of the oil, Soundwave.
Megatron snarled.
But, Master, if we...
I have no more patience. I want it all. Now, faster,
what a good leader.
Faster. My warriors need every drop of that lovely black juice to bathe their gears and fuel their engines. Total domination of the universe cannot wait unfold.
Yes, mighty
So this is like the
Megatron.
comic book version where
As
they
the
did need to
enraged
use oil.
Earthling rushed out of the relay station,
Yeah. They
waving
also had
frantically to try to stop
Energon
the speed
cubes
up.
as well,
Megatron
but-
roared with laughter, then flattened him with an ion stun field from his fusion cannon. Farther south, in Valdez, Alaska, the terminus of the pipeline, the oil flow slowed to a trickle, then stopped. The oil company immediately sent out emergency signals, which were monitored by Prowl at Autobot Field headquarters.
Chief, the Decepticons have finally broken cover.
Prowl informed Optimus Prime, the brave and wise Autobot leader.
Excellent work, Prowl. Where are they?
Somewhere along the Alaska pipeline.
That's the best you can do? The pipeline is hundreds of miles long.
With the sketchy information at hand, Chief, I'm lucky to... Wait a minute. I'm receiving something. Yes, it's Hound's signal. Coming in strong and clear.
Wait, for a minute I was like... Megatron...
Yeah, he did attack the guy.
He killed the guy.
He killed the guy. Yeah.
Look, he says, the Earthling rushed out to the station, trying to stop the speed up. Megatron roared with laughter, then flattened him. Like, squished, dead, flattened.
No,
Like
he shot him with the stun gun. Flattened as in knocked him down.
I don't care. That's what I'm interpreting. Because even though it says an ion stun field, I'm imagining it's like this giant
Laser bolt.
laser box that just goes, and he's just like all over the field. Anyway.
Above the Arctic Circle, the enormous oil transporter skimmed swiftly northward over the ice, its hover fans thundering and throwing up white plumes of snow. Skyfire, the Autobot superjet
quickly forgot about Skyfire in the animated series.
Sky, reported its sighting of the Decepticon hovercraft.
No, he just shows up, and then they just forget they ever invented him, and
Optimus
he hardly
Prime
ever shows
ordered
up
over the
throughout the
command
series.
frequency. The superjet dove quickly, catching the Decepticons by surprise and unleashing a hail of heat-seeking missiles and null rays.
That sneaking Autobot junkie!
Megatron raged.
Retaliate immediately!
My one minion,
Megatron
retaliate!
brought the full force of his terrible fusion cannon to bear, but Skyfire managed to avoid every blast.
Do something!
Screamed Megatron.
Wait!
Soundwave yelled excitedly.
According to their transmissions, Mighty Megatron, the jet has only enough fuel to remain over the target for a few more minutes.
But those few minutes were long enough for Skyfire to release another barrage of missiles, null rays, and
He's using
explosions.
Starscream's weapon
they
then.
ripped through the transporter
You okay
from
with that
stem
now?
to stern.
They split up into
Its
Autobots
giant
and
fans locked up
Decepticons.
tight and fused into useless lumps of metal.
They're all
The
just paying
huge ship
tribute.
bellied in hard on the ice.
May rust attack every joint in their miserable metal bodies.
Megatron roared.
Better abandon ship, Master.
Soundwave urged. Outnumbered, and with common sense the better part of valor, the Decepticons prepared to flee their fire-consumed transporter.
Activate the hyperthrust afterburners!
Megatron ordered.
Fire!
It was a foolish consumption of precious fuel, but necessary for escape from their Autobot pursuers for the moment.
Intermission.
Once again, the Decepticons had eluded the righteous grasp of their Autobot pursuers and survived to wreak havoc another day. Leaving their oil transporter behind, a raging inferno on the ice, they had escaped capture and disappeared into the vast frozen reaches at the top of planet Earth.
Music is so...
I like it a
It's
lot.
so 80s and 90s.
Communication center, the numerous video monitors cast a greenish glow. Prowl studied one monitor carefully as Optimus Prime stood at his shoulder.
Well, Prowl?
Optimus Prime urged.
I can't tell. It may have just been an isolated blip. But I'm never going to be able to do this if you insist on hovering over me, Chief.
I don't understand. We set up that sensor drone days ago. The Decepticons are out there somewhere.
We'll find them, Chief. And remember, Hound is still at work, too.
Well, losing that oil transporter and its fuel load should have slowed down the Decepticons.
I just gotta show off really quickly Prowl's cat eyes. I mean, and look at his missiles. Like, I know he has them on the show, but it's really funny.
Yeah, the proportions seem kind of questionable right there.
And I know he's a police car, but the P here almost looks like his own name is on the side of his own body. All right, so this is pretty cool, actually. Before we begin, the beginning part is actually like they're in an ice cavern, and you actually see the whole thing around the words is also made like the words are inside the ice thing. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty cool little effect for the kids. And we can see here he does have more minions that are never named, but I don't know, maybe they just didn't know who those were. They tried to keep it simple for the kids.
Black and white like the other guys. They can't even afford color.
Meanwhile, hidden deep in an ice cave, Megatron surveyed the feverish activity in his northernmost systems development center and fuel refinery.
That's a mouthful.
Well, Soundwave,
He demanded.
how soon will it be ready? And I don't want to hear any more excuses.
Within the hour, Master. Remember, this is a highly sophisticated piece of machinery we've stolen from the Earthlings. This multi-tracked deep-sea oil transporter. And we've made it even more sophisticated by adding external laser-powered drilling capability and enough capacity to handle the total volume of the Prudhoe Bay Reservoir.
Wow.
Do you know what that is?
Nope.
Easily
Neither do I.
withstanding the frigid temperature and crushing pressure at the vast depths
Wow.
beneath the Arctic Ocean, Megatron's monster transporter clawed its way across the seabed. Soundwave monitored the computer analyzer and listened intently to the sonar probe returning its data. He looked up and announced,
This is it, mighty Megatron. This is the perfect spot to begin drilling operations. It's the reservoir's lowest point, so all the oil will flow back here as we siphon off, putting less stress on our suction drives.
What are you waiting for then, Soundwave? Commence drilling immediately!
the huge drilling arm telescoped out from its travel lock, and the enormous suction tube piggybacked it like some overgrown sea serpent. Then there was a blinding flash, and the concentrated heat of the laser bit turned the water around it into thousands of gaseous bubbles.
How are they going to heat up the entire
Far above,
water
the oil
of the
pressure
entire
on the
planet?
hundreds of oil rigs in the Prudhoe Bay field began dropping. Then the oil stopped flowing completely. Confusion reigned on all the rigs. Once again, the Valdez terminus ran dry. Confusion turned to apprehension at the headquarters of all the world's oil
No, Exxon
companies.
Valdez wasn't for another 4 years.
Soon,
For 3
a
years.
real reason for panic arose. The reservoir, practically drained of all its oil, began collapsing in on itself. This was followed by huge sections of continental plates shifting and starting to move together. Northern Siberia slowly approached Alaska. Earthquakes shook the planet from pole to pole. A huge crack
does
opened
not
from the
catch a
Arctic
break.
Ocean to
So
the
much
Yukon.
global
Icy
destruction
waters
all the
rushed
time.
in.
Look, the Yukon, the
Volcanoes
Arctic.
erupted on both sides of the Pacific Ocean. With the
I learned that
enormous
earthquakes
loss
don't
and
actually happen
destruction,
like that.
Both Russia and the West looked to place blame, each certain that the other had caused this catastrophe for their own ends. Threats on both sides became stronger, and the world stood on the brink of thermonuclear war.
Wow,
The entire fuel
this
supply of the
escalation.
planet was threatened with radioactive contamination. Only the Autobots could save the Earth, but they would have to act quickly.
There's no saving the Earth. No.
Just so much jeopardy.
There's
This has happened like a week later after they melted the mountains.
I mean, so basically they drained all the oil of the world everywhere, and that somehow caused everything, which is the opposite of fracking, where you put in so much oil, so much liquid into the
Yeah.
area that it causes tectonic shifts.
Yep.
But no, instead all the oil's gone, so all the I was about to say planets, but all the continents move, and then to add insult to injury, everybody thinks the other countries are doing it to each other,
Yep.
so they're arming their nuclear missiles. It keeps saying, who's going to save the world? But Earth's done. Earth's done. You got to make spaceships now.
Yep.
And hope that the
Just
Autobots will help you get to another planet that isn't mechanized so you guys can live. So let's see how the Autobots save the world in 2 pages.
All Autobot eyes were on Optimus Prime. Only his vast knowledge and resources could stop the disaster threatening the planet Earth. A disaster that was very much like the one that had befallen his beloved Cybertron.
Brown, have you found out where the Decepticons are hunting from yet?
No, Chief. The underwater sensor drone can work only so fast.
We cannot wait any longer. But I have an idea, a solution, and it may help us flush those mechanical rats from their
Voice is so
hole as
weird.
well.
What's that, Chief?
Liquefied Raison gas.
Of course!
Prowl exclaimed. Optimus Prime continued.
In its liquid state, Raison possesses a greater density than crude oil. Therefore, if we pump it into the empty reservoir, it will force the oil now in the Decepticon transporter back into the reservoir and restore the Earth's geography to its former state.
And its liquid half-life is only a matter of hours. Then it becomes a gas again.
Exactly, Prowl! A gas that should force that Decepticon oil guzzler to the surface of the ocean to face.
Our missiles!
Wow,
Do
he's excited.
Megatron demanded.
I'm trying, Master, I'm trying.
Crammed it all.
Soundwave exclaimed as he pushed and pulled every combination of buttons and levers that were available to him. But nothing worked. The transporter was surfacing, and nothing was going to stop that.
Surface in 5 seconds, Master.
You blundering, cane-filled idiot!
It's the gas, mighty Megatron. It's the Raison gas that's doing it.
Reasons or excuses! I want results!
The surface now, mighty Megatron.
Optimus Prime waited for Megatron to make his move, but there was only silence from the floating oil transporter. However, an Autobot boarding party encountered a time delay booby trap attached to the deck hatchway. When it went off, 2 members of the boarding party were sent back to visit Ratchet for repairs.
Is this the ending?
Inside the transporter, the other Autobots discovered that the Decepticon command module pod was gone. Once more, Megatron had managed to elude a just fate. But he had left his message across the screen of an idling computer monitor whose voice readout kept repeating,
A Decepticon universe is at hand. A Decepticon universe
That was
is
going to be
at
his
hand.
voice.
So menacing.
and the battle continues.
The bad guys can never escape, can never get captured because they need to come back for the next episode.
Next week, Earth's demise, finally. He's going to succeed eventually.
Yeah. I remember watching, people were such fans of Skeletor. Apparently they kept asking him to win at least just one episode.
Oh, yeah.
I like how the picture on this is like they had to cram in a text so much that they didn't have any room for the picture. And I also like how, first of all, they stole something for Earthlings that they could fit inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
I assume they adjusted it. They had an escape pod because they jettisoned that to escape, right?
Yep.
And then that escape pod had its own escape pod at the end of the story. What do you think
Is that the one thing that's going to bother you? That's crossing the line, not the other stuff?
No,
Not the reverse fracking that was going on?
well, I do like how they undermine the whole thing. They're like, we will pump it into the empty reservoir, which will force the oil in the ship to go back into the world.
The reservoir.
Reservoirs.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense at all.
And then it'll somehow just make the planet go, oh, everything's back to normal. I guess I'll return to normal.
Spread back out. All the volcanoes that exploded, all the lava will just zip back up to the top.
Did a volcano explode? Oh yeah, a volcano
Yeah.
did explode. So lots of volcanoes exploded. And
I'm sure when all that Raison gas dissipated and the oil goes back in the building and all the commotion from the Earth expanding again, I'm sure that's not going to make all these people upset and set off their nukes and stuff.
so the one thing that's funny, it's basically Megatron and Soundwave fighting Skyfire, Optimus Prime, and Prowl. Because Bumblebee shows up in here, but he gets a sentence. Like, someone else shows up in here, but they get a sentence, so it doesn't even matter. Ratchet, doesn't matter. They say people got repaired by him, and that's it.
Well, Hound got a little work. He got to take a vacation on a car dealership.
Yeah. The one thing I think funny is Optimus Prime's like, no, this is much like the disaster that befalls Cybertron. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Cybertron was erupted by Civil War. You were there for it.
He's supposed to be like the archivist. That's not what you wrote down. What are you talking about?
He's an archivist in one separate universe.
Okay.
Not the original 80s universe.
All right.
Yeah, and also the narrator could not have done any of them because his voice is too out there. Like, you would recognize him if he tried to do the voice of them too. Though I have heard stories before about that where, I can't remember, there were some I read as a kid where you listen to one guy narrate and do all the voices.
Well, yeah, there are a lot of audiobooks where the narrator, who just reads just the non-speaking parts, he actually does like the dialogue and stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
I listened to a bit of the Game of Thrones audiobooks, and yeah, the narrator there, he does all the voices, men and women.
Really?
Yep.
But did he try to make an inflection and make them all sound
Yeah,
different?
he tries to make them sound different. I mean,
Wow.
you can tell it's still him, but there's all that, all of it is him.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a game called Animal Soccer that some people should check out, where one guy does all the voices for everything.
Isn't this that bad video game you sent us?
It's a terrible video game and he voices about maybe 30 different characters.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine how how awesome it would have been as a kid if you actually had the voices of the actual Transformers actors on here for things like this.
Oh, that would actually be pretty interesting.
But I knew, like, as I'm pretty sure, like with the He-Man one I have, with the G.I. Joes you would get in here, even the Pac-Man, I'm sure they couldn't even get the voice actors for any of those to come. And
not even My Little Pony?
My Little Pony, the Glory, the Magical Unicorn, Volume 1.
Wow.
I still like how Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk began. I almost feel like that's an origin story of their buddy cop movie.
Oh my goodness.
Like, or like their buddy superheroes going around, doing all that. But, yeah, so do you think you would have enjoyed these as a kid, even if you didn't really pay attention to Transformers as one?
Yeah, I probably would have liked it once or twice, something like that. I don't know if I could keep listening to it. They should have some of the soundtrack play at the end of it without the audio.
Yeah, some of the, actually, like in the When Continents Collide one, actually had some pretty cool background music.
Well, they both actually had the same music, I noticed.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they use the same stuff.
Wow. Yeah, I wish, wow, and it's called Cartoons.
Cartoons?
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that kind of is something you would just play in a car.
All this really has is the copyright stuff on it. Nothing else. So do you want to find out what Purdue Reservoir is? Let's find out. Purdue Bay Reservoir. You got your phone?
Nope.
So yeah, Purdue Bay is a real thing. It's located at the northern center of Alaska. It is the largest oil field in the United States and in North America.
Always educational Transformers.
Yeah. What's funny is it just tosses it in there. Like, kids are going to know what it is. Or they're going to be like, would you have gone, hey mom, is this real? And asked your parents.
Like, where is it? Can we visit it one day?
Can we go see where Megatron almost destroyed the world with his shifting the tectonic plates? And
have to make sure that one human who got flattened, is he still okay?
Yeah, you never hear back from Hound. He's like, oh yeah, I totally saved the human. Instead, it's like Hound's there, and he's like, well, I let the human get squished because I didn't want to blow my cover. Yeah, so did you have anything like this as a kid? Any children's books, audio tapes?
No, not that I can recall. I mean, outside of, like, Teddy Ruxpin.
Yeah, see, we not only had Teddy Ruxpin, we had Big Bird.
Oh, yeah.
You had a Big Bird.
I didn't have a Big Bird.
You had a Big Bird, and you put a tape up his butt, and then he just talked, and it was the actual Big Bird voice from Sesame Street. Oh. And he moved his beak, and his eyes looked around and moved around at you. So you were just like, hey, you're talking with Big Bird, and he tells you a story, and then he occasionally breaks out into song, because that's what Sesame Street does.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it was always funny. We had him next to our Teddy Ruxpin. And nobody remembers poor electronic talking Big Bird. They only remember Teddy Ruxpin.
Do you think, do you recall if any of these story schemes from Megatron ever made it into, like, the TV show?
Yeah, if these happened in the cartoon, there would be, like, such catastrophic problems, like, the world over. They'd be like, Optimus would be like, oh no, we've failed humanity.
Yeah, we can't roll back these changes.
Yeah, these books are pretty funny, because I'm just, like, listening to some of them, and I'm just like, wow, these are very descriptive. And then, like, of everything that's going on, it's like they had to fill the pages. Yeah. So they're like, let's go back and add some more, flower up the language.
Exactly.
So, and then you have stuff that just doesn't make sense. Like, what was the point at the end of having two of the robots, the Autobots,
the nondescript Autobots go down to check the ship
and just go kaboom,
just
get
to
blown
be destroyed.
It's like all they did that so they could just name drop Ratchet because they were, like, legally obligated to put in, at least 4 or 5 of them. And they're like, well, that happened, the end. And
yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but well, we hope you've enjoyed our look at the Transformers Tape Me Along cassettes. Wow. That's it.
Thank you.
Wait. I was going to try to hit stop here on the cassette player.
To stop the camera?
I also had a Care Bears one that I found that my sister had. Because she gave me the cassette tape. Because then, hey, you still listen to cassettes? Have this. Thanks. I mean, do you still have the book? And it was like, no, she didn't. So we can't. I might have to get that on eBay, and we can continue this adventure of looking at old storybooks.
I cannot wait.